Hello, everybody, and welcome back to That Milan Podcast. Martino Puccio, Matt Santangelo, alongside you guys. Just want to give a quick shout out to everybody that has supported all of us, as the ticker showed right there in the first topic. But we appreciate all the support that you guys have been giving us this summer. And a quick shout out because we had seen comments about my thumbnail skills in the comment as opposed to, Santangelo's pronunciation skills. We had seen some of the feedback on my shitty thumbnails. So we got our good guy Stinker in here, who's always been a supporter of ours. So shout out to Stinker for the new thumbnails, which will be much higher quality from here on out. So we hope you guys appreciate that a little bit. So shout out to Stinker in the comments. Let us know what do you guys think of the thumbnails there. I think Stinker does a great job, so I'm very happy with what he's been giving us. So yeah, how you been? It's late July, Milan's first preseason match against Arsenal tomorrow. So summer's moving quickly, my man.
Yeah, it is. We're quite a ways into the market. You're starting to see a lot of things materialize, things fall apart. Once previous targets land with other clubs, which we will talk about. So, but we still haven't signed yet Arden Dishari. So that's something that we're going to continue to monitor. So, yeah, I'm just kind of in that mood of this summer where I'm just ready to watch football again. Because I didn't watch the Club World Cup, truthfully. I know some people didn't.
Good for you.
Some people loved it. Some people hated it. Some people didn't watch. I just didn't watch it. I wanted a full-on detox from football after the season we just had. So I'm just ready to watch AC Milan play.
Yeah, detoxes are good. I tuned in for some of that, but unfortunately, doing kind of the stuff that we do and the work that I do, at least you're able to disconnect a little bit more than me. I can't escape it. But yeah, it's funny. Summer moves slowly, summer moves quickly, but the Mercato moves slowly. But this week for Milan, there actually was some pretty quick movement, and we'll just jump right into it, guys. And Milan finally have a left back after being embarrassed, quote unquote, in the Archie Brown saga for a player for $8 million. And this was kind of the topic that was very interesting. Pervis Estupiñán of Ecuador and Brighton is going to be joining Milan. He's 27, 5'9", has a bit of an injury history, but is a very talented player. I obviously watch a ton of Premier League, having working at Peacock and NBC. So I tune in all the time. And again, there's a lot of big De Zerbi fans out there. Estupiñán did very well to thrive under him. De Zerbi has good comments about him. I just keep seeing, a good amount of people who like to be objective about a lot of moves, Matt, including pretty much every single move that Milan makes in the transfer market. And then there are the people that no matter what Milan does and who they sign at this point in time, the guy sucks. He's not good enough. The discourse around him is they just signed De Kuiper. Milan should have signed De Kuiper from Club Brugge, even though everyone wants to stop doing negotiations with Brugge, which we won't be getting into this episode because it's a complete waste of time. Estupiñán is definitely somebody that I didn't really tab to have on Milan's radar, simply because figure and situation, you never really knew what Brighton were doing. And usually Brighton sell a lot of their talented players for relatively high figures in recent years because they've been a hotbed for talent in the Prem. For me, we talked about this. You can't fully replace Theo Hernandez. You're going to have to be able to get players that represent some of his best qualities and try and go from there. I think Estupiñán does that on some level. Again, Milan not paying too much. I know a lot of people are turned off by his age, but 27 within Serie A is nothing, guys. You could really get 5 years out of somebody. And again, 5 years is half a decade. Let's not act like it's anything crazy. There's a bit of an injury history there that we'll get into, but Pervis Estupiñán from Brighton to Milan, 17 million euro with 2 bonuses, package for 19 million, Matt. What do you think of the deal for Milan?
Pervis Estupiñán is a good addition for Milan. I think that you have to look at the way the market was going, and you truly are seeing it right now for the fullback position. Right, there are sort of budgetary constraints and restrictions as to how far and how high they want to go for certain players. And I think that when you look at Estupiñán, yes, I understand there are some concerns regarding the injuries. I think that is something that fans are rightfully concerned over and worried about, because obviously, that was something that was such a huge highlight of what Theo Hernandez brought to the table this past 5-6 years, right? Where, amidst his sort of regression the past couple of years, this was a player that was always available for selection. He maybe, had obviously questions regarding his commitment and,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
the dedication, but he always suited up. You always saw him post, or we saw him on the left flank. And, that is something that now all of a sudden, when you're getting an injury player, a player that comes with that sort of baggage through his past couple seasons, and he's 27, he's not a spring chicken. He's not a spring chicken in the sense of football world, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that fans are right to feel that way. And you look at the fee, it's 17 plus 2. I think the wages is somewhere, but that low two to
2 and
2.5.
change, yeah.
Yeah, with a contract, I think until 2030. So yeah, there is a commitment there. I don't think the fee necessarily in this era of football is that bad. I just
Yeah.
think that, again, fans are looking at the injury records, and I'm cautiously optimistic because I do like the player. I think that this is someone that can get forward. He can cross the ball. He
Yeah.
has probably a lot of things leaning in his direction when it comes to the defensive side that I do actually like as well. The work rate, all those sorts of things, and I do think he could be someone that can help Rafa in a sense to stay a little bit more up front and not have to do as much on the back end, which I know was a big criticism and has been a big criticism of Rafa, is that, okay, fine, he does all these great things going forward, but this is a player that doesn't track back as often as he should, or doesn't do a lot on the back end to help in a given match. So I like the move. I don't love the move. Ultimately, time will tell. I know some people they love this. Some people hate this. And I think that really comes with the territory of supporting Milan at this current time. Ricci aside, a lot of people didn't like Modric, right? Because of so many other factors that we mentioned in our previous episode. So when a signing comes, naturally, because of who is making said signing and who is in charge of said signing, people are always going to be, I don't like this because it's this guy doing it.
That's the thing too, because it's like, one, I'm not telling anyone how to feel as a fan, but you should probably just stop watching if that's the case. If all your objectivity is out of the window, and I know fans aren't always supposed to be objective, but you should have a little bit of it. Then just don't watch. Just don't tune in. It's not good for your health at that point. Because two things. One, who is the player realistically that Milan would have been able to get, not even just at left back, at any of these other positions that would have been like, oh my God, I am thrilled. I'm over the moon. I'm so happy with this. They're not even happy with Yashadi. I have people that think that I think Yashadi is like the greatest thing on the planet. And like, I can't wait to, there's people saying that I'm going out of my way to show pictures of Yashadi in a Milan, at the Milan game at Barcelona. That was a viral picture, by the way, people. So don't be stupid, please. Secondly, they're never going to be happy. There isn't going to be a perfect replacement for Theo Hernandez, who was at the top of his game, the best left back in the world. So for Milan to repeat that and replace that and have that sort of, and like you said, not commitment, but health, playing week in, week out, tons of matches, is going to be very hard to replicate on top of just the production. We get that. It was done. It was damaged goods. No one's really truly happy about that entire situation. Everybody knows it. But what are you going to do? We have no control over that. We have to, as fans, pick up the pieces and just hope that they get some sort of semblance of a left back. Truthfully, we talked about it. Cambiaso, pipe dream. Udoji, pipe dream. Milan weren't going to sign these players that people are going to be overly excited about regarding this situation and players to come in to replace Theo Hernandez. That was never going to happen. Estupiñán is probably in that tier of players that a good amount of people are going to sit there and say, okay, this was as decent as we could come across. Injury record isn't the best, but on his day playing, this is an above average left back. And all things considered, with this management, my lack of trust in them and this ownership and where we're at with them, we could have done a lot worse, is what I'll say. So I just want to quickly touch upon this injury record, Matt, that people like to cite. Listen, there were plenty of muscular injuries for Pervis Estupiñán in the past 2 seasons with Brighton that caused him to miss a plethora of games. But I like to err on the side of caution for many of people to remember that in England, they have multiple competitions compared to Serie A and what Milan would be playing in, right? Brighton was a European side. They were getting in there. So you have to count those matches. You have to count the Carabao Cup. You have to count the FA Cup. You have to count the Premier League. And on top of it, the type of style and play in England, is heavily predicated upon physical ability. And how are you able to play week in, week out at a high pace rate, right? Because it's end to end in the Prem. A lot of physical players do very well. That's why a lot of them transition relatively well to Serie A. It's not so much predicated on technical ability and the X's and O's. It's really about the physical capabilities that you're able to show out in the Prem. That's why they love players like Pedro Beto. So for me, I think that transition for him and playing once a week with Milan is going to be a huge plus for them. Obviously, we'll see what happens next year if Milan get back into Europe. But as far as this year is concerned, Matt, playing once a week for a player like Estupinan is perfectly fine. And he's played 30 or more games in 2 of the 3 seasons that he was in the Premier League. So it's not exactly like he's missing a ton of league games all the time. I just like to say to some people, sure, the injury record isn't impeccable. It's not flawless, but at the same time, it's not as bad as some people would lead you to believe. So I think in terms of Estupinan's availability, it's better than what some think. Are you overly concerned about that and his adaptation to Serie A?
A little bit.
Okay.
Because I
Yeah, fair
think
enough.
that he comes with again, we talked about the injuries, of course, but I think he comes with more of a recent like ankle injury. And if this is a player that, obviously is predicated on, work rate and getting up and down and
The ankle injury
defending,
was a year ago, by the way. So,
right? Um, I think that again, like, I don't know. I honestly, I think we've seen Serie A become a league where even players that have some injury concern can come and thrive. I mean, Pulisic is one of the more recent examples. I know Loftus-Cheek, we obviously have gotten a lot of the same injury concerns that he had from Chelsea, and he's when he has played, he's been okay. When his first season, but I just think again, time will tell. I mean, this could be a player that comes in and Allegri's able to do what he does with him and maybe get him to a different level. Because again, this is a 27-year-old. It's not a 33, 34-year-old finished player. I still think that there's some good football left in him, of course, despite some of the injuries. So we'll wait and see. I think the one thing that I always try to speak on when it comes to players making the move to Milan is it's Milan. There's still a lot of pressure, right? You're replacing Teo Hernandez. So you're going from Villarreal. I think he did win there. He did win, I think, the Europa League. Then he made the move to Brighton, and they were able to go into the
and get back up with Chukwueze, by the way. I just realized.
Right. So again, it's Milan. The expectations are going to be high. The first couple bad games he has, or if he doesn't settle right away, people are going to be like, "This is the guy we replaced Teo with," and that was something I harped on in that episode where I talked about when Teo left to Al Hilal. I said, "We don't know what that 25 million is going to go to." And if it goes to a player that doesn't produce, people are going to look back and say, yeah, I understand that Teo had his faults, but the guy you replaced him with for almost 20 million, he was a bust, if he is a bust. So we have to wait and see. But again, financially speaking, the commitment I feel like is a pretty good commitment. It's not something that
was going to be
absolutely kill us. The wage bill, it's basically half of what Teo was earning. And obviously, it's a fraction of what he would have been earning if he did extend with us. So we'll wait and see. I do think the one thing, too, is I think that we have to judge the defense or the signing of Estupinan within this defense when we do see the full boat, the full picture of what the defense is going to look like. Because I think that if he's a player that, is more committed to the defensive assignments, maybe we get a more attacking-minded right back, and now that all of a sudden kind of gives you a little bit of a different look. It gives you a little bit of more support and a differentiating outlook on how that can impact Pulisic and Rafa on each flank. So that's what I think people need to identify and understand when it comes to signings in defense.
One final note on that before we just move to just sticking on the left back for real quick. I do find it interesting and funny budget allocation towards the left back and where they were with the last left back target and what he was valued at. Archie Brown was valued around 8 million euro. You and I sat here and many others speculated, is 8 million the max for the left back position? Where is their figure that they're saying, okay, we're willing to go to this number here and we're not going to surpass that? They end up spending 19 million euro total for a player, which was a bit of a surprise at the left back position because they're still interested in the right back side. They got 2 more sales over the line, which we'll get into a little bit later. But again, 19 million euro, that's almost triple where they were going with the initial left back option. So kind of interesting to see how they were zoning in on one guy and then they pivoted and paid more than double for the next player. So I just found that a little interesting where they allocated their budget there. Speaking of budget, I hope Davide Bartesaghi is the backup left back this season for Milan. I think that this is a perfect situation for him in order to grow. There is a little bit of injury history there with Estupinan. I think Allegri is going to have the ability to evaluate Bartesaghi. He's obviously been in training. He scored on the Milan Futuro in that link up. Him and Liberali actually both scored on the Futuro side in that scrimmage back at Milanello. Obviously, now they're in Singapore for their match against Arsenal tomorrow. Bartesaghi, for me, I think this is a perfect situation simply because of who's in front of him, right? With Camarda and obviously looking at a Liberali, the opportunities are few and far between for those two players, and especially someone like Camarda got to be playing every single week. With Bartesaghi, we've seen a cup of coffee the past 2 seasons, Matt. We've seen doses of him. And almost every single time he reappeared for Milan, he actually looked a lot better than the previous time, which is a massive step in terms of development. Now, again, you obviously have to see more consistent minutes, more consistency on the pitch when he's actually playing. But I think this situation for Bartesaghi makes a lot of sense for him being a backup because, one, he'll be put in situations that aren't as high leverage because of Milan's, qualifying for certain areas. And I know once a week, top 4 is massive. Allegri said in his press conference, which is another thing I don't really love, that they're saying the ultimate goal is making it back to the Champions League. Hate that. Don't really care if that is the realistic goal. You should say it's the Scudetto, but whatever. For me, Bartesaghi being the backup left back for Milan this season would be crucial in his development moving forward. I don't see how a loan to Serie B would be better outside of just consistent playing time. I think having a steady dose of minutes as a backup left back at Milan at his age would be fantastic. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I think Bartesaghi getting the opportunity to stay on the first team and you be that rotational option at left back is good. I think this is a player that's fresh. He's ready for an opportunity. We didn't see a ton of him the past couple seasons. We've seen a cup of coffee with the first team, right? He'd get an occasional appearance. I know he had the red card.
It was so unlucky, yeah.
Yeah, very unlucky. But I think that what I see from Bartesaghi and how I ultimately think he fits into our plans for this season going forward is this is also a big player. I do suspect that maybe he does have a future as a center back. I'm not saying that that's how
I get you.
use him, but I think this is a player that if we pick up a knock or if we pick up an injury to one of our main central defenders, which by all counts it seems like this is going to be the center back group, right? Unless we make changes, I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything off Fikayo Tomori, Malik Chow. We had that. That was very early on with Como. Pavlovic, seems like there's kind of
I agree. Yeah, center backs are staying.
I think that there's a chance that this is the group we go with, which is still young. So maybe Allegri gets his hands on him. He's dealt with really good defenders in his career at Juventus. So we'll see. But I think that our Bartesaghi has a profile that I think could maybe long-term translate as a more of a left center back or someone in that build because he's big. He is physical. I think he's someone that maybe you can, use as a presence in the box for headers. Again, not saying this is going to be the reincarnation of Sergio Ramos at Real Madrid where he's winning headers and getting goals, but you get the point. So I think that it's nice to see a little bit of that Milan Academy DNA sprinkled within this team, which is not something that we have typically seen in recent years. And it was something that, frankly, we talked about in our last episode as being somewhat of a concern, right? Because Liberali, Komoto, those guys traveled with the team for preseason here in Asia. We suspect that Liberali is probably going to leave on a permanent basis. That's what all reports are saying. And Komoto, frankly, he's not going to play with the first team this year. So,
well, the idea is Spezia, I think, was the name that was floated.
But I'm saying for this year.
I know, but I'm just letting people know the loan is the likely option for him.
Yeah, so it's nice to see a youth product be someone that can fill out this team. And I think ultimately you're going to need Bartesaghi because, frankly, you want to have, someone that maybe you can look for and say, hey, maybe we have an in-house option.
I think he would be an emergency
center back. Does get injured, if he does have some concerns, you have Bartesaghi in there that you can at least give an opportunity. And my guess is this year we're going to see a string of games from Bartesaghi.
I agree. Liberali stuff, as far as that's concerned, he's still with the team.
I know, but more
Going
approaches
on.
saying that's not really going to change. I think that.
Well, there's conflicting stuff. I don't think
I
people
saw from
should just.
Gazzetta, so I don't know.
Well, Gazzetta. They're they're wrong the majority of the time. To me, I'm not saying he's staying, but I think people should stop jumping the gun with that one. I think allow preseason to happen, and then we'll see what goes. Bartesaghi, yeah. Vittorio Magni, by the way, I would like to also mention he's the right back. That's been their youth guy. I think Juve Stabia is the side that's interested in bringing him on loan. So there's more concrete plans. I do love the approach from Allegri and what Tade are doing, at least with these youth players, giving the ones that are interested in staying and want to have a future here a clear-cut plan, right? Like we see what's happening with Comalto, for example. Okay, we probably don't want to put you with Futuro because they're in Serie D. We want to loan you out to a side that we think could develop you, even though he's about 17 years old. I think coming in with a plan immediately and rectifying what they did wrong with Liberali is very important because it's showing that there is a plan for him. And it's funny how they're keeping him away from Futuro. So I just wanted to mention that. Yes, go ahead.
From Matteo Moretto.
Yeah, the Colombo.
Accelerates for Lorenzo Colombo. Deal in final details with looks like a loan with an option to buy that can become mandatory. So between Pobega for what, 9 million, I think that's an obligation for 8 million,
8 million
which has been made official. And Colombo, let's assume it's 6-7 million. That's essentially what 15, 16, give or take, from homegrown players. So
yeah. Well, it's close to 30 million in total for like Kalulu if you want to add him in there too. It's just pure plus Valenza there. And then Morata, which we'll get into towards the end of it. But we'll see. Bartesaghi should be exciting. So you wanted to kind of like speak about this because the right back position is fairly interesting. I think Alex Jimenez is going to be a guy for that position. And some people are like, oh, don't invest in a right back, this or that, because we have him. We could just put someone else as the backup. Salamakers, even Musa potentially if he stays. What people need to understand is that Jimenez is not staying here long term. I think it is very important for people to understand that Real Madrid are going to buy this guy back. There's just no denying it. I think Jimenez would be important and utilized for the club this coming season. I think he'll be somebody that'll get minutes at left back and right back. But I still think Milan are going to invest at that right back position if they see an opportunity for that. Rumors are that you wanted to talk about this. They were in on Marc Pubil, who is going to be heading to Atletico Madrid. I believe the fee is like closer to what Estupinan went for. Pubil had some suspect medicals. Milan had checked them out, and they seem to have been happy with it, but they obviously didn't move forward with that. Doue is still a track that they're keeping alive for. With the Pobega and Morata sales, we have that money coming in there. Colombo, we'll see what happens with Yassine Adli and Benacer, some of these other players where Milan could recoup some of their finances and maybe invest at that. Strasbourg reportedly have been saying that they are not going to move off of the 30 million euro total package for Doue. Doue is a talent. I mean, just straight up, I think this would be one that, fans I don't think could really get upset about, but they're Milanisti, so they could probably prove me wrong with that. Doue, do you really see them getting to a figure that would satisfy Strasbourg in this? That's kind of my main concern. I don't think that they end up doing that, but like you mentioned to me, it's not going away, which is interesting.
Yeah, and that's sort of my feeling on this, right? Is that, as this Yashari stuff has stalled, I'm not saying they're completely backing out of this, but it seems to me is that they're planning in the event that they can't get a deal done for the Yashari, and they're at least sort of keeping that dialogue open with Strasbourg, because I haven't seen any other club, based on the main sources, linking Doue to the Premier League or PSG or whoever. Or, I say PSG because his brother Desiree Doue plays for PSG, which is interesting because he plays for France, but Guela Doue plays for Ivory Coast. So I don't know how that typically works. Maybe it's like the Kevin Prince Boateng type thing. I don't know. I'm on a tangent here. But on Doue, yeah, I think the track could still be alive. It seems as though the most recent reports are saying that Milan upped their offer from 15, easily shot down to 18, and then more recently, as of today, it seems like 21, 22.
Who
Whereas
reported that one, by the way? Just for
Strasbourg want 38 million plus bonuses. So if Milan can get to a position where it's 24 to 25 plus bonuses, and there
you're
are
saying 30,
bonuses,
you said 30 million total.
30 million including bonuses.
Okay, including
Yeah,
bonus. Yeah, you
30
said
million
plus
including
bonuses.
bonuses.
So just to clarify.
So if they're able to get maybe somewhere like 25 or 24 plus 6 or whatever, it's possible. I think there's a possibility if Milan are able
And a
to
resale percentage, get a little
sell
creative.
players, offload this and that. Maybe they're getting more for players in return than they expected or anticipated, you know? So
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I think that it's only right within this fan base to say 30 million. We're not touching that number. We're nickel and diming. We're raising our offers incrementally every time, and it's getting shot down. We need 30 or it's not happening. But maybe there's dialogue. Maybe Milan gets a deal done with them. And again, as I mentioned, it's close to 30 with bonuses. And maybe there's a resale percentage because Lord knows Milan, they're going to sell this player probably at some point if they do buy. So we'll wait and see. But on the other side of this, Pobega looks like he said it to Atletico Madrid, who hijacked the deal, according to Fabrizio Romano, from Wolves. So that's done. So now Milan have to kind of see out what else is out there in the right back area. I am curious, though, is that Milan would potentially go, mid-20s, maybe up to 30 for Doue, or spend that much and allocate that much at the right back position, knowing they still have a pretty good right back in Jimenez currently there. I wonder
I think it's because Real Madrid are just going to take
but that's what I'm saying to you, is I think that they're kind of anticipating, like, if we like Doue, maybe we get him this year because Real Madrid are going to take Jimenez back next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I will say this, Martino.
That's
Again, it's a lot of other things involved here. They didn't do that with Nico Paz, with Como.
For now, yeah.
For now. They said, like, you got Como, keep him again, because I think I have another option or two that goes up incrementally. So, like,
and it's really not worth much. I think it's like 10 million.
It's like 8 and 9 million, 10 million. Like, it's small. So, like,
Real Madrid is such.
I don't know. There's a real possibility that Jimenez plays pretty well this year.
I agree.
And he leaves to Real Madrid, or Real Madrid take him back. And we can sell this player for more.
Well, because Vasquez and Carvajal are towards the back end. I think Vasquez is already gone. Carvajal is towards the end. He's also recovering from a torn ACL. Trent. Phenomenal technical fullback, but realistically, long term, how does he last? I think Jimenez probably has a little bit more upside defensively. Okay, listen. So for me,
teams like
Jimenez is just not staying because they don't have the relationship with Real Madrid to negotiate that. If Paolo Maldini was here and he's saying, okay, let me redo that. Guys, they couldn't even keep Brahim Diaz long term. And Diaz was a fine player, solid backup. I think Jimenez, no disrespect to Brahim, Jimenez has far higher upside at his position than Brahim does. I think Jimenez, where that fullback position is and what he represents, we forget, dude, this is a guy playing left back and right back, Matt, and he's really young and showing that versatility. And there is upside there. And I thought he grew a lot last season. So, yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I agree. So moving on with that situation, we'll see what transpires at right back. So Tommaso Pobega made official to Bologna. He had a goodbye message. It was pretty heartfelt. Obviously grew up with Milan Primavera, made his debut with the club, obviously had been on loan from time to time, played a key role, was at Spezia, was at Bologna. Listen, this is a decent player, jack of all trades, master of none, not really somebody long-term that could stay at Milan, especially considering the fact that they're playing once a week. I don't think he has the technical ability and upside to play in Europe, straight up. And I think that's still the standard that Milan should be trying to have. They make a quick buck here. Sure, it's favorable in terms of Bologna, but that's the reality of the situation that Milan are in. I wish Pobega well. He was a consummate professional. I thought he contributed when he could. And again, this wasn't a special player. Everyone that comes out of the Primavera, your youth products, not everyone has to be a star. Sometimes it's nice to produce a consummate and consistent professional like Pobega is, and I think he's going to have a long career in Serie A for a decade. So congratulations to him on a full-time move. Bologna is a solid club. Italiano's got a good project over there. He's obviously won a trophy on our head. So Pobega to Bologna for 8 million euro. Decent money for Milan when this eventually becomes that obligation for them.
Sure, yeah. I mean, just unfortunate that obviously the obligation is not until next year, so I don't think we can put that on our books or count that for our
Hey
budget.
man, that's when we just break profit next year.
Yeah, I know. It's just kind of annoying. But Pobega was one of those players that was on the outs. We all knew that. And he obviously went on loan. He had a decent loan last year at Bologna. So it's only right that Bologna went back in for him, worked favorable terms for Milan. Nothing really more to say. I mean, this is a player that, frankly, is not Milan quality at this time. He's not someone we can rely on. We don't need a sixth midfielder, fifth midfielder when we're only playing Serie A and then we move into Coppa Italia later on the season. So, yeah, all the same things you just mentioned. Professional. He scored a couple goals for us, notable goals. But we need better. We need a better quality. And, I think obviously we wish him all the best because he is – a born and bred Milan player. And I think this is a player that can, have a good, steady career in Serie A. I don't think he's going to be a world beater. I don't think he's going to be a player that all of a sudden, revamps his game and all of a sudden now Milan are kicking themselves for selling him. We know what he is. We know what he isn't. And we know that Milan needed a better quality player. So move on from him, take what you can. And again, wish him all the best.
Yeah, absolutely. So decent money for Milan there. Best of luck to Tommaso Pobega. Moving on and continuing in the midfield here, Yassine Adli, Carnevali, Sassuolo's executive, I believe, right, was the one who commented saying that we're interested in bringing him to Sassuolo. That would be, listen, I'll say this with the Yassine Adli stuff because I haven't really commented on it and what they have done to him and delegating him to the Futuro side. Some people think it's massively disrespectful to a player who's just always done what he could. I don't think necessarily at his tenure at Milan, people have treated him with the sort of respect that I think he might have deserved as a player, just as a person. I mean, listen, being delegated to the Futuro side, it's insulting in a way to a professional and where they're at. He had a respectable season at Fiorentina. Obviously, that they didn't want to trigger that option there. I think for me with Adli, he has no future here. I think that's been fairly clear. I think he's still capable of being a professional in a top flight league. We'll see what happens with a Sassuolo or Torino. For me, take whatever you can at this point. If you're able to get some money for him, if it's anywhere between 6 to 8 million, similar in the Pobega range, you take it. Wherever he's happiest with going, you sell him off there. Listen, I'm not crying over this. It is what it is. I really respect him. I enjoyed watching him. I enjoyed him as a figure in Milan. It always seemed like he brought in a fresh attitude, just always being a good teammate. A lot of people always talked about his personality, and I think that's really important to have in a dressing room. So for that, it's kind of sad. He obviously was a big fan of the club, but listen, this is the reality of it. If you're not up to par, not up to standard in terms of a player, you're not going to have a role here. And Allegri and Tade view that. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Sassuolo or Torino. I prefer he goes to Torino because you just know if he definitely goes to Sassuolo, he's going to be dunking on us like he did at Fiorentina. So your thoughts on Yassine Adli potentially going to Sassuolo or Torino?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there was interest in going to Saudi. At least, there was interest from Saudi early on in the market, and he rejected that, right? Which is obviously something that Milan fans probably would have wanted because it probably would have warranted a larger fee coming our way for him. Obviously, we know in Serie A, a lot of these clubs don't spend that money that maybe we would have loved to get for him, maybe 12 million versus 6 to 8, give or take, right? But yeah, very similarly to Pobega, this was one of the players that as soon as Allegri arrived, even before then, right, because he was loaned out, he was frozen out in his first days at the club, right, when he didn't really play that much. You knew he didn't have a future here. And this is a player that we saw glimpses of in his first full season here when he started playing some games more consistently, but Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty evident that, multiple coaches don't seem to think he fits into the plans. He's not a great defender. He's not someone that has a tremendous athleticism and a body to go along with it. So, yeah, I mean, you move on from him. You hope it's on a permanent basis, but the way all these deals typically get structured, it's a loan with an obligation or a loan with an option. Same thing with Emerson Royale. Looks like it's a 1 million loan with a 10 to 11 million option, according to Nicolas Scuda. This is also the proof of buying bad. This is when you buy players that are not really that great and they don't really have a high ceiling. They could be young, but it's timing. It's being able to develop them. And if you're going to sell them when you can get the most back for them. Because I think even with Pobega, Martino, if I'm correct, a couple of years ago before Pobega, I think maybe after his Spezia stint, he was linked with Atalanta, and Atalanta had lodged a substantial offer. I think it was like 15 million for him, something like that. Like, you guys can quote me on that and look back at the history. But that's the point I'm trying to make is like Milan they have so much work to do in selling dead weight. And that just goes to show you how poorly constructed this team has been the past couple of years, where it's tough to move these players, guys, and it's tough to get favorable terms. It's tough to move players on a permanent basis, like an Adli, like a Pobega, like some of these others, because you don't have leverage. They're not great quality, and you're just trying to dump them, and the other buying club knows that. So, no disrespect to Adli, again, as you mentioned, he was a consummate professional. He was one of the individuals that you could always sense that he didn't get a lot of opportunity, but guys like Rafa, guys like Tomori, guys within the team always seemed to really appreciate his presence and appreciate him around. And he was one of those fan favorite players that, we were always looking to get more opportunity because we saw the product on the field wasn't good enough. So give this guy a chance. So you never really truly got to see it out. And I kind of understand why, again, just not at that level that we need. So hopefully he lands on his feet with Sassuolo or Torino and does well and has a good career. So wish him all the best as well if one of these clubs do buy him.
Yeah. We'll see what ends up happening there. There's been no real reported fees, so we just go off of the link.
It's going to be a loan with an option or obligation.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, moving on to that and pretty much the final topic of the day. Alvaro Morata to Como. Pretty much this one's going to get over the line. The second Victor Osimhen officially signs with Galatasaray on a permanent basis. That unlocks Morata to move to Como. The rumor was 10 million euro. Listen, Milan just got to cut their losses here. I think everybody knew it. Obviously, the move to Galatasaray did not work out, but immediate 10 million in cash from Como is a pretty good deal for Milan. So 10 million euro for Alvaro Morata, who wasn't really going to play a role with the club, and they send him off to Como. Again, this is just money to use towards the transfer market. You take what you can at this point in time. I don't really have high expectations. Morata was just a flop in general. So, yeah, not much left for me to say there. Good riddance, and I'm glad they're getting some funds for this.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off what I was saying, right? When you assemble a squad as poorly as Milan have, you have players like this where it's like, oh, yeah, we have to sell them. Now, thankfully, Como, they're buying them. We're basically getting something similar to what Galatasaray were offering as far as their package with all the options and all those sorts of things. I don't have the full details in front of me, but when we loaned him to Galatasaray, there were some options and all those sorts of things. So, yeah, just take the money and run. This was a failed transfer. Many people thought it would. Truthfully, I thought it would be a little bit better than it was because I thought that the player was experienced in the league. He was coming to Milan. Ibrahimovic convinced him. I was like, okay, this guy maybe gets us 10, 11 goals. He's decently creative. He's good in the build-up a little bit, and he's a veteran player. I didn't expect him to be the anchor of our attack, and he wasn't. But, yeah, just dump him. Dead weight, get out the door, leave. He had a lot of harsh things to say about Milan when he did actually get loaned in January, which basically implied that he really didn't see eye to eye with management or Conceição or whoever and where things were headed. So it's only right that we move on from him. And hopefully this summer, when we're seeing a lot of these players get out the door, it's a wake-up call for this management, for this ownership, because they're dealing with all the pain and aggravation that comes with trying to offload these players. Now maybe they'll start to see, hey, maybe we should buy quality players. Maybe it's better to invest a little bit more in quality.
Oh yeah, cutting corners doesn't work.
On a player that we give a contract, he's excess parts somewhere else. Emerson Royale, and now you get nothing back.
Oh,
So
which is also a good thing that you just mentioned his name because he's so relevant to me and I can't stand him. Emerson Royale. Just real quick, and we'll wrap that up as the final topic. The rumor has been Besiktas is interested in him with a 1 million loan paid for the year, and then an option or obligation, I believe, around 10 to 11 million. Take it and run. Please just launch this guy over to Turkey. Just allow him to do that. Betis don't want him back. Milan don't want him. He knows his job here is over. Simple. Just get Emerson Royale out as soon as possible.
that market last year was miserable
and just terrible. So anyways, we appreciate you guys so much. We thank you for tuning into this podcast. Nice quick one, get you out in 40 minutes. Again, subscribe to our other channel, That Milan Podcast. All the content that you see on TikTok and sometimes other social media platforms, we upload onto over there, except for like official announcement signings like we just did with what's his name, Estupiñán was over here on this channel. But again, we appreciate all that support there. We finally got Santangelo into the Instagram account. We got a lot of followers yesterday, so we appreciate all the new followers over there. We're over 300 now. We are soaring on TikTok consistently. Hopefully more positive news will allow us for that. We'll try and get more clips from the podcast today up on over there. Much more topical stuff that people would be interested in. So again, we appreciate you guys greatly. Don't forget to follow us everywhere at That Milan Pod, at That Milan Podcast. Give us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your audio platforms. Greatly appreciate the review over there. Comment on what you think of the transfer market so far. You can comment on Yashadi, whatever else. And give us a review on Stinker's thumbnails. So once again, thank you, Stinker, for that. We'll see the results today. If not, you're fired. And then again, you can follow me everywhere at Martino_Pucci on Instagram, at Martino Pucci everywhere else. Santangelo, let the good people know where they could find your work on top of what we have on the ticker here.
Sure. On Twitter, X. I refuse to call it X, at Matt_Santangelo.
2-year anniversary, by the way, of it changing.
Yes. What else? Oh, Milan play tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern on the East Coast against Arsenal. Should be interesting. We could see Ricci. I think that's going to be Ricci's.
I'm going to be knocked out. I'm going to
try to watch it during work. I'll have it on my phone. But yeah, we'll speak on some of the things. Again, we try not to put too much stock into preseason. Things tend to change. Some of these players that might be playing might not even be here. Okafor, for example, or Chukwueze we might see. But we'll give you guys some sort of takeaways, maybe some sort of reaction or review to some of the performances that are more notable. And then, we'll maybe get some updates, hopefully, in the market side of things. I think Morata just also said that Estupinan is headed to Italy in the next hour. So
yeah, I saw that as well.
Barring any collapses with the medical, he's going to be a Milan player by the time we do the next episode. So
yeah, be a Biani. But yeah, we appreciate everybody, and other than that, take care.